Welcome to SFL This Week, Season 22, Week 6 edition. Back with us, Mike O'Neill, along with Cameron Irvine. Mike, great weekend, great show. The debut of SFL Game Day. Congratulations, man. Hope everybody got to tune in.
Yeah, thank you, man. I'm really excited about it. I think it's something that the SFL can use. We can always use more content, and had a weekend free, and I plan to do a lot more of it. So hopefully we'll catch that multiple weekends going forward.
We'll see it back in a couple of weeks. Mike, I asked you if you were SFL outed, or SFL'd out. I don't know how you say that. And you said no, and what?
I've got a problem.
And you know what? I think people in the YouTube chat have a problem too. John Fullerton, Mac Dre, Polly Truth, Ron Haynes, TJ Harper, Damon Simeon, Mark Lopez, and many others. We hear Cam and Mike, says TJ. So yes, we all have a problem. We are addicted to the SFL, and we love every second of it. And this week, once again, did not disappoint. Here were your headlines from Week 6. A wild one in Mexico City, Mike. Baltimore outlasts the Aztecs 45-38 in Season 22's
that game was so good.
Scoring game. 83 total points. Back on track. Vancouver shook off the slow start this week and left Denver behind 38-21. History was made. Seattle scores 38 in the fourth quarter. Stunning. Louisiana and Washington. That was just a 14-10 game at the end of the third. 4 wins and counting. Minnesota extends its streak. Victorious on the road in Raleigh. And Houston, if you missed it in the late block last night, 66 points. They defeat winless Portland 66-17. Mike, what caught your eye from Week 6?
Oh, man. Well, for one, I've got to say that Mexico City, and I talked about this on SFL Game Day Live, what caught my eye was the fact that Jordan Sipe threw 5 interceptions and was still in a position to win the game for Mexico City at the end had they gotten an onside kick. That, to me, stands out. I don't think that people are talking about the Mexico City offense as much as they should be, as well as, man, I feel like Minnesota's flying under the radar right now. 4-1, and I think they're really, really looking good. Obviously, we can talk about Seattle, but yeah, just a couple things that stood out for me.
And I think Houston's flying under the radar a little bit too, Mike, because they're 4-1. They're at the top of the South.
I've been an advocate of them since the beginning, man. They're not flying under the radar.
Well, maybe it was because you weren't here last week. They had a bye last week, so we haven't talked about Houston here for a little bit. So maybe that's what
that's a killer team, man. That's a killer team. Nobody talks about the additions that they made over the offseason, and they're looking good.
But first, after all those headlines and all that drama, nothing could top what we saw in San Antonio. The defending champion Florida Storm in Alamo City to take on the Artillery. Ace Fenix starts us off with a 1-yard quarterback slide into the end zone, 7-0. The fans were out in full force. It was a pretty day in SA. Chris Comasack strikes back, gets the touchdown, and we're tied at 7. Unbeaten Florida on the road. Alamo City's lost 3 straight by 5 points or less, trying to rectify that. But, Mike, you can't have fumbles on kickoffs. It was a big momentum changer early.
Yeah, special teams. I mean, it can win games for you or it can lose games for you, and this was a big no-no for the Alamo City Artillery.
It turned into a field goal for Florida, so they went up 10-7 late in the first quarter. We picked this up there, 3rd down and goal on the ensuing drive for Alamo City. Yayo Montana in the backfield at running back, a little bit of a wrinkle, but on 3rd and goal from the 2, it wasn't enough. Juan Mississippi with the tackle, so Alamo City had to settle for 3. Tie game at 10, now 13-10 Florida up before Yayo Montana strikes back. He finds the other end zone and scores, makes it 17-13. Then 17-16, Montana again. This time gets in the end zone on the ground, 24-19. We pick this back up, 3rd and inches. Charlie Beletsky inside 90 seconds to go. Florida on their game-winning drive. Their drive is extended by that first down. They weren't done. 4th and 3 after that first down conversion with 20 seconds to go. Florida has to have a touchdown. They have to keep the drive alive. And Ron Cochran finds Stephen Bush down to the 11-yard line. Timeout, Florida. They're down to 1 timeout. So on the 11-yard line, Cochran with 4 wide receivers. Watch how close this is. Ron Hoff saves a touchdown. The ball never crossed the pylon. So Florida has to take a timeout. They have none left. So if they are tackled outside the end zone, this game is basically over. Cochran in the huddle. What are they going to call? Potentially last play. Ron Cochran, 8 seconds left. Caleb Diffus over the middle. Are you kidding me? Alamo City's defense can't believe it, Mike.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. And if you actually watch the reaction on the corner that was directly behind Caleb Diffus, you see him panic afterwards because he knows he just kind of gave up a big play.
Last hurrah for Ace Fennec is caught, but it's short, way short. And Florida does it again. On the road, they remain undefeated, 5-0. This team just continues to impress. They didn't do everything right in this game, Mike, but we know that Alamo City is way better than their record. In fact, they're one of only 2 teams with a positive point differential with a losing record right now in the SFL, the other being Mexico City. So what'd you think of this one?
Yeah, it was such a good game, and it just goes to show you how good of a team Alamo City is, even at that 1-3 record. It's really hard to gauge. That's why you can't judge a team off their record, because Alamo City is capable of beating any team in the SFL. And I said it on Game Day Live going into the game that they really had to shut down like just the pass. They had to come out there and do everything essentially perfect to beat Florida, and they nearly did, Cam. They really did, but that just goes to show you how quality of a team Florida is.
They're 2-4 now, Mike, Alamo City, and they've lost 4 straight now by 5 points or less. And it's almost like a law of averages, right? If I was in that locker room, I'm thinking, okay, there's no way we're going to lose 6, 7, 8 games by 5 points or less. It's just not going to happen. So eventually these wins are going to come, and we're going to get back on track. But if you were in that locker room, what would you be saying to your guys after a very tough month?
Just stay the course. Just stay the course and do exactly what you're doing. You know you have good coaches in there that are gonna figure it out. It's just been a string of bad luck and really just tough opponents. Ultimately, I mean, it's really just been a tough start to the season. I would just be telling the entire locker room, just stay the course, stay patient. Like, we're going to get there. We are a quality team that will end up in the playoff hunt at the end of the season, and I really do believe that.
Florida's leadership caught up with Ashley Jackson this week. Max Paul and our Vandalay on PGI.
Right, welcome back to PGI, where I am joined, great friend of mine, Mr. Mighty RX, a.k.a. Max Paul. He is the owner as well as offensive coordinator for the Florida Storm that came off an amazing victory over the Alamo City Artillery. I mean, I wasn't even playing, and I was on pins and needles that game, man. How are you? Excited.
That game, like, if you're a football fan, right, with no vested interest in the game, just watching it from an outsider's view, that game was great. They never got outside of like a 2-scored, some crazy lead like that. It was just competitive through and through. We thought we had a chance early. They thought they had a chance early, and it took a yeoman's effort, right? I don't know if that's the word. I just made it a word. Whatever. Ron had to go 89 against that defense that gave us problems all day long. They hit him repeatedly. I think they had 5 or 6 sacks, and they held our offense down for a good portion of the game. And for Ron to be able to pull out that last second win with that connection to Caleb, snatching that ball out the air like that to kind of come down and secure our the winning spread for us was great. And all kudos to Alamo City. Like I said, their defense came to play tonight. They made us earn every blade of grass, and I am sure that they'll turn this thing around. They're currently going on a slide, but I'm sure they're gonna turn this bad boy around, because it's right there. They're right there on the precipice.
Fantastic work, Coach. Good luck to you guys for the rest of the season.
Yeah, Arizona, we coming. We're coming, Arizona. Don't duck.
Lemonade all around. See you later, man.
Sounds good.
And I'm also joined with another great friend of mine over from the Florida Storm, head coach, defensive coordinator, Art Vandelay. How are you doing?
I'm good, Ashley. How are you? Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Hey, I'm doing fantastic, man. And I know you are with that performance that you guys put together against ACA. Awesome work. But I wanted to know from you, since we already heard from Mighty, what were some of the keys to your success or the team's success in this game today?
Well, as you know, actually, they have a really good team. They're very well coached. They're a top team. Whether they've lost a couple of close games or not, they're going to come back, and they're just too good to be down too long. Just like your team. Your team is going to start scoring here very soon and getting back at it because your teams are just too good. I think one of our keys in this game was third down conversions, making sure that we can keep moving the ball. We wanted to try to get the run game going, but the AI did not cooperate in that sense. And, I mean, Ron Cochran was just throwing the ball all over the place. That was not part of the game plan. And the other thing for us was holding them on third down. To me, third down is one of the most important stats each game. One of my favorite stats to look at is third down percentages, offense and defense. And I think, we were in that 50% range, give or take a couple, both teams. But, moving the chains, stopping them from moving the ball and vice versa, to me, are the keys to most games.
Gotcha. One more question for you. Do you feel that because you are champions now, that there is a target on your back, so to speak?
I think that's only natural that everybody, wants to, I think Bo said it in one of your interviews recently, to be the best, you got to beat the best. And, we did that last season as we beat Baltimore in the championship. So, now it's our turn. And there's always going to be a target on the back of the champion because everybody wants to get to that point. But we don't really worry with it too much. We are looking at the next opponent as the only opponent, and we move down the week that way. And we just worry about what's ahead of us in the immediate future. Once we get to the playoffs, we'll look at it a little bit differently. But as of the regular season, next week is the only week that we're looking at, and we're looking at you guys right now.
Okay. One game at a time. One week at a time.
That's all we got. It's the only game we got in front of us.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Art. I really appreciate your time, and good luck for you to the rest of the season, except next week. Okay.
Okay, you got it. We'll give you a break next week. I'm not going to show up.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ashley.
You too. Back to you in the booth.
Thank you, Ashley. Now back to the highlights. We go to Mexico City, where the Mexico City Aztecs, from the word go, Mike, were on fire. Jordan Sight to Doug Spelling. Can't believe nobody was able to catch him. He is G-O-N-E gone. Just a minute, 17 seconds into this one. Now towards the end of the first quarter, 14-6. Jack Wiggy, 80 yards. Ivory Irvin, how do you let that man get so wide open? Baltimore cuts the deficit to 2 with that touchdown. Atera not able to collect Ivory Irvin in time. And then, Mike, T-Pat and the Baltimore offense goes for 2. They hand it off to an unknown who scores. I've never seen a 2-point conversion in the first quarter. That was crazy.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. And it just goes to show you how wild this was. It was foreshadowing for the rest of the game.
Ray Bentley cut back to the right. Look at the old man with some moves. Father of mine. 21-14, Mexico City, 6:13 to go in the second. Now we go into the third quarter, and Jack Wigmore's going long to Caesar Ackerman over the kid. Jeffrey Daggs, touchdown. Baltimore takes the lead, 24-21. Everybody getting involved in that Vultures receiving core. Jordan Sipe trying to answer back. Low-key, one of the most important plays of the game. 3rd and goal. Troy LaShaw on Bill Henry with the tackle, forces a field goal. Now we're tied at 24. And then Baltimore's defense started doing crazy things like that. Alvin Mack with the one-handed pick. Just foolish. Getting Baltimore the football back. The fans can't believe it. Wigmore would answer all day. End zone. Irvin, touchdown, 31-24. Baltimore towards the end of the third quarter. Celebrating on the sideline. Next possession for the Aztecs. In fact, very next play, Sipe. Oh, you got to be kidding me. Keenan Samuels, this linebacking core, best in the league. They were just balling tonight.
Yeah, they were, man. Those linebackers were everywhere, and this is where Jordan Sipe really started to have problems, like you see right there. Pick an interception and takes it just all the way back. I mean, that you can't have situations like that, but wasn't over yet.
3 straight drives with interceptions, and look at that, fake field goal. Navante Richardson, Mexico City down 38-24, in need of a spark, in need of some juice. Maybe that's why they put special teams on the field to fool Baltimore, just to try and get that offense back fired up, and it worked. Touchdown, Doug Spelling from Jordan Sipe, 38-31. Baltimore recovered the onside kick, and T-Roy Gaines gets in the end zone. The ball crossed the pylon, so we're right back where we started, 45-31. The Vultures with a season high in points. But next drive, what is Baltimore doing? Playing zero coverage. All you got to do is break one tackle, and that's exactly what the receiver does. Touchdown, Mexico City, 45-38, Jason Bartley. And then, boy, if you have a heart condition, don't watch this
wasn't
next
the one
highlight.
for you.
Yeah, this was not the one for you. Watch this. Down 7. Mexico City, 1:10 to go. Bobbled, recovered, fumble! And it's recovered by Marvin Himes of the Vultures on special teams. What a ridiculous play to end it. And Baltimore wins 45-38. Mexico City almost had another shot. Your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, it was absolutely wild, man. I thought the performance from the offenses was great, or were great, and Baltimore, I mean, kudos to that linebacking core. They really balled out, and that's what won them the game, essentially. But you want to talk about wide receiver performances, you talk about Ivory Irvin, right? I think he had over 200 yards, multiple touchdowns. I know Mac Chima, I think, had multiple touchdowns. I mean, unbelievable, really on all ends, but I can't say it enough. If you're Jordan Sipe, you have to be able to hang your head up high because you threw 5 interceptions. Any quarterback makes mistakes like that. You throw 5 interceptions 9 out of 10 times. In fact, 99% of the time, you're not going to be in a position to win that game. But the fact that they were just is a testament to what that Mexico City offense playbook is looking like this season.
We've seen Keenan Samuels, Alvin Mack on blitzes. We see them in coverage. They seem to do no wrong. They are definitely the heart and soul of that defense, and Baltimore survives 2-3 now. They were just a few points away from 1-4. They get out of it. They get the win on the road, and they can continue on with their season. To the highlights, or back to the highlights now in Atlanta, where we started the week, and Bryant Dynasty got off to a hot start. Kay Marion breaking a tackle and scoring in Atlanta. Had the Hive buzzing 7-0, just 46 seconds into the football game. But trouble is afoot. Nate Heslip, pick 6. He's gone untouched to the house, 7-7 in the first 2 minutes of the game. This one was wild from the jump. Handoff to Jason Williams. He scores on the ensuing possession. He would break his ankle. Later in the game would not return. 14-7, now 21-7 Atlanta. Gabriel Manning can't keep him down for long. Touchdown, the league's leading receiver. Back at it again, cuts the deficit down to 7. And just before the end of the first half, Bryant Dynasty, cut off by Nate Heslip. Heslip gets a block. Are you kidding me? The block and the spin, and then a late block down the field. 2 interceptions, 2 pick sixes. Talon Steele, bless his heart, not going to catch 21. And we're tied at 21 with 3:43 to go in the first half. Yeah, do a little dance. Maybe make a little love. Who knows? Get down tonight. Tie game at 21. Bryant Dynasty picked off David Ware. This is feeling like the Jordan Sipe game, right? Nope, there's a fumble right there. So Atlanta is still hitting hard. They forced Tulsa into a field goal, so 30-21 in the fourth quarter. Atlanta trying to fight back, but Bryant Dynasty can't get rid of the football. Sacked by David Ware, so a pick and a sack. Fast and furious. Michael Brown down the field. Gabriel Manning. This was the difference in the game, Mike. They just couldn't stop him.
Yeah, it absolutely was, and that's been a trend so far this season, Can, that whenever number 18's on the field, I mean, it's going to be a really difficult thing for the opposing defense.
Last hurrah. Henry McGee could not reel the pass in. The disappearing act of Boo Chisholm continues. No catches in the last 2 games as he sits on 99 career touchdowns, and Tulsa gets a monumental win on the road, 33-28. They are now 3-2. They drop Atlanta to 3-3. They're the only team at 3-3 right now in the standings. That slots them 13th, so they would just be on the outside looking in of the playoffs. What a win on the road for Tulsa, huh? How'd they do it?
Oh, man. Well, like you said, you were talking about they couldn't stop Gabriel Manning. That's a big thing. But the defense, to me, won this game for them. The defense, I mean, you talk about Nate Heslip with 2 pick sixes. I mean, that's a very rare thing to happen to a defender. And it's so cool to watch. Beginning of the season, Cam, we saw the defenses really, really ball out, right? And we saw a lot of just really physical coverage. And I think the natural progression of this now, we're seeing wide receivers explosive. In the past 2 weeks, we've seen crazy wide receiver performances. Gabriel Manning's been doing it all season, but that just goes to show you tonight, or on that Tulsa game, that, man, the defenses are really balling out this season. And, Nate Heslip, kudos to you, because really, really took that one home for Tulsa for sure.
Our Vandalay in the chat saying we need offensive and defensive players of the week in the SFL. If you want to go out on that limb, fine, but I need my approval rating to stay high, and that sounds like a no-win scenario for me. All right, let's talk about some blowouts. This is kind of not even fair, Mike, because it was 14-10 at the end of the third quarter. I don't know what happened. Seattle exploded in the fourth quarter, and Tommy Utah, you could definitely tell that the momentum meter had basically broken at this point, Mike, because Tommy Utah was like a shell of his former self. He could not figure anything out in that fourth quarter of play, and Seattle poured it on. 26 first downs. Their average field position was almost midfield, and this is the key. Seattle had 3 turnovers in that first half, and Louisiana got nothing. Seattle was playing, mistake football, and the Revs just could not capitalize.
Yeah, it's huge. Points off of turnovers is something I think that a lot of people aren't looking at or not paying attention to, but that's a crucial factor whenever you're looking at, championship caliber teams or really good contending teams. You've got to be able to make the most with every possession you get. And when you get an extra possession, you've got to be able to make something out of it. And so that really, really essentially Louisiana left 21 points off the board.
Doug Day says in the chat, we're jacked up on Twinkies. I don't doubt it. But Seattle, one of those one-loss teams at the top of the standings that is pretty darn good.
That Doug Day pick 6, man.
Oh, man. It was crazy. It was one of the best plays of the week, if not the best play. Sensational there out of Doug Day. Let's move to Portland, where Houston hung 66 on the Fleet. It was 42-6 at the half. 21 points off turnovers for Houston. But the rushing yards, it wasn't Portland's lack of running in this game. They actually had a lot of bright spots offensively. They just stalled out and kicked too many field goals, whereas Houston ran roughshed. I saw a stat, 9 trips in the red zone for Houston, 8 touchdowns. Unstoppable.
Yeah, and it's just unacceptable from Portland's defense. I mean, you can't give up that many points and expect to stay in games. You can't give up that many yards and expect to give up games. I mean, like, it is really, really difficult whenever you're looking at Portland's situation right now. It was hard to watch because in the third quarter, man, I'm not going to lie to you, I was watching offense from Portland, and I was actually pretty impressed with some of the calls in the third quarter. And I was like, this does not look like a team that hasn't won a game and that can't capitalize. For whatever reason, they get past the 30-yard line going towards the red zone, and it just stalls out. There's nothing.
Mike, that's called that's red zone situation mode, right? If I've ever seen one. You just got to go in and figure it out down there so that you can get some touchdowns, because as you know, Mike, touchdowns equals momentum. Momentum equals stops, and then it starts to all roll downhill. But Portland's searching for answers right now. Portland, Los Angeles, Charleston, Motor City in the bottom of the SFL standings. Motor City's 1 win against Charleston. Charleston's 1 win against Los Angeles. Which that's our next highlight. Charleston at Los Angeles as the SFL this week rolls on. Nick Hoagland, that was a 5-yard dive. That was pretty impressive. 7-0 Charleston on top towards the end of the first quarter. And John Lakeman hits Leon Sandcastle. How about it? Sag, the big boy, rumbling down the field. That turned into a Charleston field goal, made it 10-0. Watch Sully Richardson here, one of the best plays of the game. Yeah, get off me. Finds Chris Lee down the field, wide open. That was pretty stuff there from the Los Angeles offense, down 13-0. However, Sully Richardson, same drive, not going to get away from the pressure this time. Dan Dash, Mac Dre, all these like 3-4 letter names, big dudes getting sacks. It's awesome. Deep down the field, Jack Flash in double coverage, down 13-3 late in the third. Okay, LA is starting to get something cooking here. Red zone offense now at the 19-yard line, 3rd down and 4, and Sully Richardson is picked by Sam Blotner, who was just standing there, makes the play for the Preds and gets them the ball back. But Los Angeles' defense kept them in this game. John Lakeman's pass intercepted. All of a sudden, Los Angeles has their best field position of the night with 5 minutes to go. They are only down 10. They got a shot. Sully Richardson, clean pocket. Charleston only rushed 3. Look at that nice pickup right at the end of that by that offensive lineman, and LZ Pryor gets the catch at the 4-yard line. So now with flash in motion, 3:45 to go. It's the rookie, Brennan Stahl, carrying a defender in the end zone. Now LA's got life, 13-10. Sully late in the game, final 30 seconds, picked again. And Los Angeles, just too many mistakes. They lose 13-10. Charleston gets their first win of the year. Minnesota at Carolina. Harish Prasad. Yeah, there you go. Switch it to the other hand and get that stiff arm out there. That's a wide receiver learning how to play running back on the fly. He'd get hurt in the fourth quarter. 7-0 Charleston on top of Minnesota. 3rd down and 9. Play fake from Matt South. Trying to protect a lead. Not going to do it like that. Didn't see the linebacker, Matthew Alvarado, in coverage. Alvarado led the team in tackles, interceptions in this game. This game wasn't the same after that turnover, Mike.
No, it absolutely wasn't. And you know what was crazy to me in the beginning? The first half, Jason France was non-existent.
That is not Jason France, but a touchdown nonetheless. T. DeQueen, talk about existing. T. DeQueen has been a monumental pickup for Minnesota. Tie game at 7, another play fake. Oh, Max Knight crushes Matt South for a sack and a loss on 3rd down. So Carolina would have to punt it away. Reno down the field hits Deezer Powell into the end zone for the first down. 5 minutes to go in the first half. It's still a close game, but Minnesota at this point was building momentum. It was the nice hands catch, and here's why. Wow, what a beaut.
Yeah, they did such a good job as far as keeping it diverse on offense. Minnesota did.
3rd down and 8. Johnny Reno into the end zone. Jay Taylor, touchdown. So DeQueen's got 1, Taylor's got 1, and Minnesota's up 10. They've got the ball back, and now Viva la France is in the end zone too. Jason France with his touchdown. 3 touchdowns from Johnny Reno to 3 different receivers. This passing offense wildly underrated. 24/7. Whoop! Whoa, where you going? Touchdown, Riley Quintero. Matt South fooled everybody. I think the guy in the stands gave the popcorn to the wrong people, too. Ike McBride down 13 on 3rd down and goal. Couldn't score, and Carolina never got closer. 30-17, the final. Minnesota wins. Your thoughts on that one, Mike?
Yeah, I thought Minnesota did an excellent job keeping Carolina on their heels. And they did such a good job mixing up the pass and the run. And whenever they were passing, you had no idea who it was going to because they targeted so many different receivers. And it seemed like Jason France turned it on at the exact right moment when they needed it at the end of that second quarter. And as far as Carolina goes, I think that, Carolina's looked promising on defense for the past few weeks. And in this game, I feel like it just seemed like the entire game they were just playing a little bit slow or a little bit behind, one step behind. You know what I mean? And Carolina, you just got to get back to the drawing board, rely on that defense a little bit more, and Ike McBride's got to get a little bit more production in order for that Carolina offense to succeed.
Minnesota, another one of those one-loss teams. Carolina seemed overwhelmed by their sheer amount of talent. Colin Hart, Justin Williams, T. DeQueen, Jay Taylor, Jason France. I mean, it was just like you shut one down and then the other one gets open, and it was just a tough night for the Skyhawks, whose 2-game win streak is snapped. They fall to 2-4, which, believe it or not, is tied with Alamo City for 19th in the league. It doesn't feel like those teams should be that far down, but there's not a lot of teams with one or zero losses right now in the league. A lot of parity, definitely right in the thick of things. Back to the highlights we go. San Diego and Jacksonville from Friday. Holy moly. Yeah, let's, there you go. Hey, Dot Williams, the rookie.
How about that?
Gets down to the 1 yard. Magic, the magic of production. Dot Williams, come on, rookie. You got to get in the end zone, but he saves it for Shepard Vakarian, who scores, and Jacksonville's off to a hot start. 7-0, 4:40 to go in the first quarter. Johnny Pickler finds Benji Matson. Pay attention to where he caught that and what happened on that play, because Jacksonville would be feeling some deja vu a little bit later. Young Vaught, look at the hustle. He got burned all the way down the field, tracks Benji Matson down, collects him at the 4-yard line. That was a 64-yard pass, longest of the season for San Diego. Rob Noel fighting his way into the end zone, and just like that, San Diego has the lead for Jacksonville, 13-10, just before the end of the first half. Watch, deja vu. He got beat again. Young Vaught beat again by Benji Matson, trying to chase him down. This time Alex Bond gets him at the 14-yard line, but Benji Matson 2, Alex Bond 0. Johnny Pickler, look at the time. End zone, Eagle Mondavi with the catch. San Diego starting to run away with it, 23-10. Pickler now picked up by John Martin. This felt like it could have been a game changer here. It's still a 2-score game, 6:25 to go.
Yeah, definitely felt like a momentum shift. And, if it weren't for our defense picking up, I mean, it really, really would have. Oh, man, what a scramble, too. I remember I was biting my nails on that play right there. And Stuart Zomelia, the former Jacksonville King, comes up and makes that play right before the first down marker. Huge play.
The difference is Rob Noel only needed a yard. Bruin needed 12, and San Diego wins 26-13. Queen City, Motor City. You were on the call for this one. Look at Anthony Weil making a play in the first 90 seconds, making you look like a genius.
Yeah, Anthony Weil, man, I'm telling you, he's one of those guys that is always in the right place at the right time.
There's the forced fumble. Ted Haynes picks it up. Christopher Dean coughed it up, and then later in the drive, Eric Price to Tony Zoma. That was almost a Brett Solberg, Jay Ballmer flag football collision right there, right in the end zone. That was dangerous. 7-0 Queen City on top. 3:30 to go in the first quarter. King Jackson drops to throw and finds Harana Queen Jackson in the middle of everybody. That was a nice play for this V8's offense. Got him a first and goal, got him a little bit of momentum, and then their run game did the rest.
Yeah, and this is something they needed a little bit more of. They needed a little bit more passing offense like that.
Rivera in the end zone for the score, tied at 7 late in the first quarter, and the Dags drone works. Blimp made an appearance on a really pretty setting sun evening in Detroit. Eric Price dropping to throw. Look at the time. If you're going to ask someone to cover James Matthew Jr. one-on-one for 6 seconds, you're probably going to lose. Touchdown for JMJ. Hey, how about another stiff arm score? 24-7 at this point, Queen City pouring it on.
Yeah, I loved what they did there. They ran him on a hitch and then got him one-on-one again. They kept doing that. They're the best in the league at doing it.
Jets 0 in the end zone, makes it 31-14. 0, 2 yards away from his second straight 100-yard game against Motor City. He finished with 98. And then to finish it off in a game break, Anthony Wiles starts where he left off and gets the win for Queen City, 31-14. Corsairs improved to 3-2. They snapped their skid. Your thoughts on your team's win and the game you called?
Yeah, I thought San Diego's win was really good. We knew Jacksonville was going to be tough, and the Benji Matson success was a crucial part of it. That was something we were seeing all week. We saw the mismatch. We saw that they like to put their safety in man coverage a lot, and we said, okay, if we can get Benji matched up against this safety that's undersized compared to Benji, this can be a really, really good one-on-one situation. So we took advantage of that, and it really showed a lot. I think that Johnny Pickler looked great. Our run game was balanced again. Again, we don't have any bell cows. We don't have any stars, but, we're just moving the ball down the field and being efficient. So it was a big win for us. Talking about Queen City and Motor City, man, it started out really, really good in the first half. Motor City's got to find some more depth at play calling. That's it. There's no other way. And I've said this about a few teams. A lot of the teams at the bottom right now, they just have to ultimately go down to the deeper level of play calling and figure out what their team and what their playbook is calling whenever their plan A doesn't go right. That's just all it is. That's all it is, because they don't have anything to correct to.
And ultimately, Mike, they've got to figure out how to get their best players the football. I mean, you've got a lot of talent on that team that's just not getting the touches. It's a difficult job because they do have such a talented offense that you have to spread it thin, but you have to find ways to keep the defense guessing and just get those guys the football, get them in space to do what they do best. It's a tall task, and Motor City's still trying to put the pieces together. Queen City, man, they just continue to impress. That run game seems to be getting a little bit better each week. Eric Price is really starting to find other players besides James Matthew Jr. I think in that first quarter, James Matthew didn't have any catches. And
no,
Eric
but
Price,
they moved him around like they were going
right.
to target him. They motioned him around, and they used him as a decoy the entire first half. That was spectacular. It was awesome.
It was pretty impressive. Queen City continues their hot streak. All right, final highlight of the show. It's Denver at Vancouver late last night. If you missed this game, how about Stuart Gotts? Wow, I want to go to his ballerina classes. Big man rumbling down the sideline, and Kendra Wells going to just bring him down to the 1 yard line.
She robbed him, man. She robbed him.
Needs to go to the Usain Bolt School for Speed. At Bailey O'Shaughnessy, no problem. He'll cap it off. 7-0 Denver. They've got early momentum on the road against their old rivals, a pair of 2-2 squads. But Pseudo Nakai up the middle. Nobody touches him until he gets all the way down to about the 10-yard line. What a run for Nakai. One of the top rushers in terms of yards per carry this season in the SFL. We know that guy. He's going to be calling the game with me here in about 20 minutes. Third down and goal. Christian Brown fires into the end zone. Nick Lockett ties the game at 7. You know what's one of the more impressive things about Vancouver, Mike, is that no Chris Curtis, Brett Killian, but they're finding a lot of other weapons, as Gene Struthers is finding on this play. Jeremy Mosley, Denver, now up 14-10. Gene Struthers would snap a 10-game streak of not throwing multiple touchdown passes. He had 2 in this game. So Vancouver down 4. Now needs an answer. Christian Brown to Nick Lockett, and Lockett says, you know what? I already got one. I'm going to give my touchdown to someone else. Brett Killian, who needs one. Christian Brown, I got you, man. Wow, great teamwork there, Mike. You love to see the unselfishness. And then the barrage of scoring starts in the run game. Mateo Pravado, 1 yard out with the touchdown. And fans loving it at the Delta Dome. Hey, how about one for Pseudo Nakai? The reason why we show all these, Mike, is it's crazy. Robert Redford has no touchdowns this season.
Yeah.
No rushing touchdowns. But everybody else does. And then they feed Sawyer Stern late in this one. That's a wrap. 38-21 Vancouver. They get back on track, Mike. They looked really, really solid in this game against the Nightwings.
Yeah, they looked really, really solid against a solid Nightwings team. A really well-coached Nightwings team. So bottom line is Vancouver did everything right in that game. Their run game looked spectacular. The fourth quarter, turning it on in the fourth quarter is something that not a lot of teams can do because they're gassed by the time it comes to the fourth quarter. So being able to turn it on like that and kind of run it up in the fourth quarter is huge for a team. And I feel like that was exactly what Vancouver needed after a really difficult loss to Canton previously.
Speaking of Vancouver, let's take a look at some leaders. Let's look at the current league leaders in sacks, thanks to Corey Menard for updating all of our stats this week before our show. He is awesome. Bobo Caudell leads the league in sacks with 7 on that Vancouver front. And
not surprising.
What you notice is 5 different players from 5 different teams on this leaderboards, and it's guys making a name for themselves. D.D. Sachs, Stephen Fellows II, Deterion Darshington is on there for Queen City, and Max Knight for Minnesota. And these guys have been beasts this season. Caudell leading the way after he had a couple more last night.
Yeah, I didn't think defensive linemen could get any pressure, though.
That's what I hear, Mike. That's what I hear. Aren't these are, wait, hold on. These are all defensive linemen.
Yeah. Whoa.
I thought so. Anyway, don't believe everything you hear on the internet, folks. But of these 5,
unless it's Wikipedia, you can totally trust Wikipedia
or me most of the time. What do you think of this leaderboard? Who's really stood out to you so far this season?
Oh man, Bobo Caudell obviously I know the talent that he brings to a team with him being on San Diego last season. I know he's excellent, and he's so much fun to watch in these games like last night. Darshington would be the only other one I would speak on, just because I've called 2 of Queen City's games this season, and he is killer to watch. Debatably, arguably one of the best edge rushers as far as, creating just havoc. I don't think that Darshington's sacks, I don't think that his impact shows up on the stat sheet as much as possible, because he is always in the face of the quarterback.
Mac Dre's in the chat says, man, I was close to topping that list. He also has 4 sacks. There were a few others. Max Knight had more tackles for loss, and Darshington had the 1 forced fumble. So that's how we kind of manifested our top 5 there. But Mac Dre has also been playing extremely well. So a huge shout out there to Mac watching our show in our chat. Indy was on a bye after beating Arizona, so can't wait to see them back in action next week. All right, DC and Canton coming up about 14 minutes from kickoff, Mike, and here's what we're looking at in this matchup tonight. They've only met one time. DC won a thriller last year, 31-29. If you remember, Canton, instead of going for 2, tried to fake the extra point and failed to convert, and that's how that game essentially ended. So it was very close down the stretch. DC won that at home. This will be their first trip to Canton. Canton is 9-0 at home since the start of season 21. They have just been unstoppable at Fatherhood Festival Field. Here's something interesting. The DC Dragons are the number 1 pass defense in terms of yards per attempt, 9.8. They don't let anything get past them. Now, Canton is a big running team. They are last in the league in passing yards and attempts. But when Canton does go down the field, they do kind of like to sling it down the field, right, Mike? So it's going to be interesting to see if DC can get them into third down situations, if their defense can come up with some big stops in the secondary. Of course, we all know how good Canton's defense has been, just 16 points in 4 weeks. Keep an eye on Kevin Say. He's 1 touchdown away from tying Keith Swearingen for 20th all-time in rushing touchdowns. He's had a great career. So, DC Canton, what do you think about this matchup?
Well, I guess I'm giving my keys live here. Now, and I'll be honest, man, I think the only way that DC wins this game, and that's not to take anything away from DC, but only to speak on the amount of tremendous success that Canton has had on defense this season. I think the only way that DC wins this game tonight, they've got to go up early in the first quarter. They've got to put up at least 14 points in the first quarter, and they've got to be able to manage the game on out from there, because Canton's offense is not what they're known for. They're middle of the pack in offense, honestly. I mean, if you can hold them to a slower pace, because they like to run the ball, right? We know what their playbook holds. We know that Canton's going to run the clock. They're going to run the ball a lot. So if you can get up by 14 points early and just control the game and let Canton run their style of offense, I don't know if there's going to be enough time for them to see and keep your offense on pace. I think that's a big key too. Go up 14 early and keep your offense on pace. You know what I mean? One score at least, every other drive. That's going to be the only way DC gets this, because Canton is so good at not letting teams in the game. They'll go up early, and then they won't let teams get in the game, and teams play from behind and try and force every type of third down, everything like that. It just gets sloppy.
I'm watching first downs tonight, Mike. DC was terrible on first downs last week in their loss to Fort Worth that you just throw away, right? You just burn the tape. You say, hey, forget it. It was a bad game.
It's a burner book. I'm just saying.
That is your theory. What else do you what do you think those airplane lines are in the sky? I know that's another big one.
I mean, we're not getting into all that. We'll be here for hours.
All right, anyway, conspiracy theories aside, obviously I don't know what the hell I'm talking about if it's not the SFL. I cannot put words together. But for DC has to stay ahead of the sticks. They have to. They can't have they can't have 3 and outs. They can't be in 3rd and long. Canton thrives in these moments. You have to get 3, 4, 5, 6 yards on first down. You just have to throughout. And
they have
game.
to do it in an unpredictable way. Yeah. They have to do it in an unpredictable. They can't be one-dimensional at any point in this game.
Right.
They have to be on keeping Canton on their heels. They have to make them skip a beat.
Yeah, because I think, if I was Canton, I would want DC to have the ball first. Because if I can get him on a 3 and out, the game almost starts to feel like it's already collapsing, right, for the Dragons, because you're on the road in hostile territory. Canton's defense forces more 3-and-outs than any other team. They only give up 45 offensive plays to their opponent. 45. The average in the league is 63. So you're talking about like drives that are supposed to be 8-10 plays that are 3 plays. That's the difference in the game. And so DC's got to be able to move the ball, find those chunk plays, those big points, right? Maybe they can get Lauren Prococo in a mismatch because
she's got to show up.
Yeah, she's just so talented. I don't know, but DC's up against it. And confirmation of that, Mike, is that DC's 3-1, Canton's 4-0, but Canton is a 14.5-point favorite. Like it's crazy. And the over-under in this game is less than 35. I can't remember if it's 31.5 or 34.5, but it is low, and that is respect to Canton's defense, giving up just 4 points a game. It's going to be a wild one. Stay tuned. Charles Doherty and myself are on the call. Tyler Fall, Chris Curtis have the night off, and Mike O'Neill's going to make some sort of goodies, some kind of food. What are we having tonight as you and Brooke take in the Monday Night Spectacular?
Oh man, I think we're throwing a chuck roast in the air fryer. So yeah, we're gonna have a nice chuck roast.
Okay, all right. I don't even know what a chuck roast is. Does that make
it's
me
a
an idiot?
delicious piece of meat, Cam. A delicious.
I know
piece
what
of
a
meat.
roast is, but I've just never heard of a chuck. Who's Chuck? I don't know. That's it. That's it for SFL this week. I have embarrassed myself enough. We'll see you back here next week for our Week 7 recap. Remember, all 10 games on Saturday and Sunday next week, no Friday games. We'll get things started with Mike Daggs, Gerald Smith at 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern with the Matt Wilson pregame show. For all of us here at the SFL, stay tuned. DC and Canton is coming your way next on SFL YouTube. Don't go anywhere.